Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. This is the return of Talk the League for this season. I suppose the first full Talk League podcast since the start of the season. What better way to start it, I suppose, with the fact the big news that Eric Ten Hag has left Manchester United. What better week for me to come back, because we've been losing every fucking week. I needed to come on with a bit of positivity, so it's a good thing to be back. It's a good way to come back this week. And I'm only stepping in for Evan for these next 10 to 15 minutes hosting. I'll be a panelist on this show for the rest of it. But I have esteemed company here this evening. So to the right of me, I have Julio, and then I have Stu, and also return to the channel is Aston, our Aston Villa fan. Lads, how's it going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
All right.
Yeah, all good, King.
That's
Yeah,
good,
all
lads. That's
good.
good. It's great to see that everyone's in good form on Halloween as well. I know fireworks, especially around my area, are going off like mad every few minutes. So hopefully no one hears any fireworks in the background in my stream this evening. But also, good evening to everyone in the comments as well. Make sure you get your comments and get your questions into the boys here as well. And as always, so drop a like on the video as well. But I suppose we're not going to start with Man United this week, because like the overlap, I think everyone gets sick about hearing about Man United and the United way and all that crack, right? We're going to get to United and Chelsea when the Chelsea ads get on. We're going to talk about that. But because Aston's here, and I've been asking Aston to come on for the last couple of weeks, we're going to talk about one of the best stories in the Premier League in the last 2 years, with his Aston Villa under Unai Emery. Aston, I'm going to come to you first. Obviously, you finished top 4 last season, which was a tremendous achievement under Unai Emery. You've played some very good football, and I think for a lot of people, Aston Villa in the last year or so would be everyone's kind of, not even second club, but kind of their guilty pleasure in the Premier League, in terms of being a traditional club and being back in the big time in the European Cup. And obviously having them big nights at Villa Park again. Just talk to me about, I suppose, the last kind of year or so under Emery, and kind of where you're at now.
Wow, it's been unbelievable. It's been since the moment he took over, really. He didn't even need a transfer window, because if you look at the stats from when he took over from Gerrard, we finished 4th that year from like when he took over. So it wasn't even from a transfer window. So from the moment he took over, he's been unbelievable. With the players he's got, he's literally, some players were dead and gone at Villa. Literally completely buried, like thought that's them done. And then he's revived them. I think he's made every single player tenfold better. It's been unbelievable. And then every signing he's made's near enough worked. He's got rid of the right ones, kept the right ones, but it's our style of football. And then obviously players like Pau Torres, Ollie Watkins, them two, obviously Duran this year, he's been superb, especially tactically as well. Obviously, he's got his like image, ain't he, of playing boring football, Emery, but he plays good attacking football. Like, we play with a high line. It's not as high this year, but we play with a high line, score a load of goals. Our main issue is we concede too many, but Villa fans love him. He's like a god at Villa Park now, and he's probably a trophy away from having a statue outside.
Yeah, like, he's done particularly very, very well. And I think, like, if you look at where Villa were when Gerrard was getting the sack, like, I was very vocal on Twitter. I think many people might have seen it when I was kind of pestering Jamie Carragher to talk about how Gerrard has kind of dragged Villa into the pits of hell almost, in terms of where they were, considering the squad they had at the time. And like, if you look at how he's built like Villa's team from then to now, like, they're one of the best teams in the league right now. And I think, like, one of the good things about it is that they're doing it the right way. Like, they're getting their recruitment spot on. They're not just buying players from the Premier League, though they're obviously going abroad, buying the likes of Pau Torres, buying the likes of Kamara, players like that who are very good football players, very good players to suit Emery's way of playing. And I think just looking at how the way he's gone about it and the way he set Villa up in certain games, I think he's done very well. I think, like, if you look at the Arsenal job, he didn't get a fair crack at the whip there. And me and Julio talked about this loads of times about the squad he actually had at Arsenal compared to what Arteta has now. You know, if Unai Emery had Arsenal's squad, would have Arsenal had the last 2 titles? That's a question I think you'd maybe ask in terms of his tactical acumen. But I'll come to you, Strio, on this. Because obviously there's a lot of talk about Aston Villa about how they've rebuilt their squad and how I suppose they're almost being, even in the last year they've played so well, they're nearly almost underestimated still in the Premier League. What have you made of their transformation under this manager?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I go way back. So I remember the Villa of the 80s, when they won the league with 14 players. That would be, when they're on Saunders, it'd be completely unheard of today. I've got a couple of really good mates that are Villa fans. And they've kind of been in the doldrums for, many years, not really been able to watch good football, not had the greatest of players, not the greatest of managers, a bit mediocre in many ways for a long, long time. So it's quite refreshing actually to see them where they are at the moment. I think it's a fad at this point in time. I get it. I think that Emery's doing a pretty good job, and I think the players and the restructuring that the board have brought in is, unquestionably, a fine achievement. And there are teams, apart from Manchester United, for whatever reason, that can't seem to get a grip of your front two, Aston, as you mentioned, before we came on air. Only Manchester United over the last couple of seasons seems to have had a real grip on them, and that I find quite bizarre when you see the likes of what Duran's produced, against Bayern Munich, etc. The way that you play. I mean, some of the players like John McGinn, for example, I'm not quite sure how long he's been there, but 5 or 6 years.
7 years now, I think.
7 years it is, yeah. So we'd never have conceived the fact that he would be playing in a Champions League winning side. Champions League side. B, potentially, if you hang in there towards the last 8 games, and you're in with a sniff of the title, you could be, pushing City. Maybe not City actually this year. I think Arsenal and Liverpool. And you're doing it with not a huge amount of money spent. You're doing it with some good, solid players. And you're not doing it with, I hate the superstar phrase anyway, because to me, there's no superstars in football. There's just footballers, period. You're doing it without the so-called big names then as well. So you're like a workmanlike outfit. And a workmanlike outfit will always beat and always be difficult to play against. And I think that's what he's got. And I think he's embodied this spirit, his workmanlike spirit from his roots. And it's kind of showing in your team. But more importantly, you've got a bunch of players who want to play football. So every time they cross that white line, they want to win football matches. And they've got a real desire and a real will to do that. Whereas there are some clubs, I'm sure we'll go on to later, that have just got a bunch of posers to turn up, put on a red shirt and play football when they feel like it, and that's an issue that you don't suffer from as a club. So it's good to see where you are. I don't know how long it's going to last, but hey, ride the waves, mate. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, and I think they've with the way they've recruited and with the way, like, especially at home, they're quite strong. They're set up real well. And I like the fact, like, he can go from like a 4-2-2, or he can go to like a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-1-1. Like, he's very flexible with how he can make switches in game as well, Unai Emery. So that's something I've been really impressed with, kind of in the last kind of couple of months and last season as well. We'll come to you, Sean, on Unai Emery and Aston Villa. But Julio, I kind of want to talk to you about, I suppose, the title race right now, because obviously you have Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Villa, and Chelsea all in that top 5 right now. Do you think that, like, with the way clubs have some of these clubs have injuries, and some of these clubs, Arsenal, who are getting red cards every week, do you think this title race is going to be close this year? Do you think it's going to be maybe a 3-4 team do a horse race this year, or do you think, you know, as kind of season develops, kind of after Christmas, we'll see teams pull away? Because the likes of Villa and Chelsea and maybe Arsenal to an extent are still keeping tabs on Liverpool and Man City right now.
Yeah, I think we see this every year. We saw it last season. We saw 3 teams in it until about March, April time for the first time in Lord knows how long. I think about 10 years, which I know sounds crazy, but when you think back to each year, you think there's been a lot of years where like there's been 2 standout teams or 1 standout team and someone chasing, or in Arsenal's case, a team being top pretty much all season and not winning it. I think the way, I mean, we'll come to City eventually, won't we? But the way players the last year or so have been like falling away, like with a crazy amount of injuries, I think it's really gonna tell a big tale about how the season's gonna pan out for not as a title race as a whole, but like each individual team and their objectives. Because a lot of the teams there now are they're all competitive teams. I thought Liverpool would fall away this season because I think the Klopp factor really pushed them last season in them going as far as they did in the season, in the title race, etc. But I think it will be one of those things where it's close for points now, but each team's going to have a run where it's going to dock off. It's going to see where I think we're going to have probably 2 teams going at it until about like after March. I think it will only be knocked down to 2 teams. You know, I think Villa with their squad and, you know, what they do in the cups and even in the Champions League could determine where if they finish top 4 or not. You know, Arsenal seem to be the victims of their own downfall at the moment with suspension, and also a big change almost in their style of play in certain games because the loss of important players like Odegaard. Arsenal themselves don't have the squad, I think, to compete on all fronts. Still, you lose Odegaard and suddenly it looks very weak of creativity.
Yeah, it looks like they lack a plan B, don't they?
Exactly. And I always say that for a team to be, I mean, Liverpool got away with it a little bit when they won the league because everyone had a fall off, including Manchester City. But I think for a good squad, I think you need about 14, 15 first 11 players. So if a player gets injured or gets suspended or whatever, there is someone there that can come in and do just as good of a job. And I would argue maybe Arsenal still don't have that quite yet. There's still questions in their forward line, especially on the left wing. And even a replacement for Odegaard. You know, they've been so dependent on him that now he's out of the team for a bit. You see them, they're not as strong as they tend to be. So I personally think, as much as I would love to say it's not Man City and not Liverpool at the end of the season challenging for the league, I think City could. I mean, I predicted Arsenal to win the league, but that was more from hope, you know, and I think that hope has already gone, and November is tomorrow, you know. So I think City will come away with it in the end because I just think individual quality is still stronger than everyone else. I think Liverpool are yet to be tested properly, I think, by a proper winning machine. I know they just had Arsenal, but it was a weakened Arsenal team who were in front until they lost 2 of their back line, and then Liverpool got a point out of that. So there's still a long way to go. I think we're only 25%, 30% of the way into the season. I just think February, March time, it will be very clear where each team will finish, what each team will be looking at, and if there are any teams that might have a good run at some point over Christmas and surprise us, like going into that top 5. So I think it's still difficult to tell right now.
Yeah, it is. And like, look, I think there's a lot to be taken into consideration. I think obviously you have the Europa Conference League to all to be taken into consideration, and you also have to talk about the fact Champions League will still be a thing for the likes of Arsenal and Man City. Obviously in the new year as well. So like I think there's a lot of football to be played, and I think like depending how PSR is for some of these clubs, like the January transfer window could hold key to, I suppose, some of these teams still being in the title race and potentially obviously challenging in Europe as well. Also Evan has just joined us here as well on Halloween. He was out gallivanting in Carrick, so thank God he didn't get arrested anyway. So he has joined the show.
Setting the place ablaze, so I was.
He might get arrested though for some of his Jadon Sancho takes later on, but we'll leave that to United and Chelsea talk later on.
He's still a goat. He is still a goat. I'll stand by it. He's still a goat in the game. So he's still
we'll chat about United and Chelsea towards the end of the show. But Sean, I want to come to you, obviously, kind of with Villa, kind of sticking to Villa here. Do you think, like when you look at the likes of John Duran, Morgan Rogers, and players like this, albeit Villa are doing quite well at the moment, and they potentially are in a kind of a title race / challenge for Europe at the moment. Do you think Villa could end up being nearly another team who's been challenging up around there, but then some of the I suppose if you want to say for lack of a better term, the big six clubs almost, the term is, even though I don't like the term itself because I think some of them clubs aren't worth that at the moment, and that's us included in terms of like the club's form and stuff. Do you think some of these players might be getting looked at by some of these clubs come into the summer transfer window? Could that maybe potentially halt Villa's status and be in terms of being a consistent team inside the Champions League?
Yeah, look, it's something that we often see with clubs. Obviously Newcastle have a bit of money now, not that they can spend it, but they're probably the only one that haven't been cleaned out in the past few years between different countries. So like you had the likes of Monaco and that in France when they had a good team. The year later they got wiped out. But with Villa, I think once they have Emery there, I think they're going to be attractive for players to stay for the period that he's going to be at the club. I know things can change quickly and results can change quickly as well, but I just think whilst he's there, they'll have an attraction. The only thing that I think might go against them, but I think it's only for the summer, is just the PSR issues again. Obviously Newcastle had those in the summer and Villa slightly had them as well. Obviously we helped them out with Omari Kellyman paying 19 million for an academy player. But just those PSR swaps, I think they had to get those over the line this summer. Not that I think everything is fair about the PSR rules and that, but that's one thing I think that could cost them a player or two next summer. Obviously some of the clubs like maybe City wouldn't be looking they're fairly stacked, and obviously they didn't buy that many this summer. They might be the same again next year, but the likes of Chelsea and United, whilst I know we're like United are obviously the biggest club in England, and then Chelsea are a very big club as well. Obviously we might look at Villa's players, but at the moment when they're in the Champions League and that, and obviously we're not there here in the Europa League, like what's the reason to rush and jump? They have a platform there now to play in the Champions League this year. Obviously if they can play well, and they have been so far, I think they're top of the group so far in the Champions League, the overall table. But if they can get a deep run into that, I think they put themselves, if Villa were to ever have that drop off, I think they put themselves in the market for even European clubs. So you'll have a lot of Europe, like even this year, you'll see Munich signing Elise from Crystal Palace. Like I think with the range that the Premier League has nowadays, obviously the biggest league in the world, and it's the most televised and everyone watches it. I just think that European clubs are more open to trying to buy players from England now, and players playing in England and English players. I think they're seeing that other players have gone out to foreign leagues and they've done well. Look, Jadon Sancho been one where he went to Germany and he was in shouts for like top 5, top 6 in Ballon d'Or. Came back to England, didn't work out for him, but with the name that he made for himself over in Germany, I think a lot of players have seen that now, that you can go over there and you can do that and give yourself a big boost in your career. The money and that comes down the line. Once you perform over there, you get that name, and I think you can get moves back. But look, at the moment, I think they're going to hold strong, Villa. Apart from the PSR issues, I think they're a big club, big fan base, big enough stadium. They're in European football. I thought they'd drop off this year. They still might, just with the squad size and having European football as well, but they haven't yet. They've surprised me. I actually think the start of the year, they've been very strong, and obviously kept up ahead of us in fourth. I think that's a very good start to the year for them, to keep on track to stay in Europe, I think.
Yeah, I think they're on a very high trajectory at the moment. When I look at how they've been playing, if they can keep that going, like you said, I think it remains an attractive place to be. And look, the manager can play a big part in that as well, because he has a very good reputation in European football as well. So even if Villa, let's say, finished fifth this year and dropped into Europa League, for fuck's sake, like Unai Emery's a Europa League specialist. Do you know what I mean? So if Villa dropped into that Europa League next season, do you know what I mean? That would be an automatic route into the Champions League, because with Unai Emery, they would be one of the favourites to win it if they dropped into it next year. Because like what did he win? Like a few with Sevilla, and then like Villarreal were a mid-table club, and he won it with them. Like, and thanks to David De Gea. But like, look, at the end of the day, he wins trophies. He's a serial winner, and if they can keep him at the club, they're doing quite well. But we will move on, because we mentioned title races, and Evan is here now, so I'm actually going to bring this to Evan on this. Obviously, Manchester City have with all the money they spend and the 115 charges that they allegedly have before I get sued. They obviously
First off, I do want to say it's great to see a club not be accused of these awful allegations, and it's nice to see clubs combine together and stand up against the evil that is the Premier League. So I will say that.
You sound like Martin. But anyway, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Obviously, Man City at the moment will have an injury crisis, Evan. And Pep said after the Tottenham game yesterday that they have only 13 first-team players fit for this weekend. With Man City's injuries right now, and you consider the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool picking up points, and obviously the likes of Villa who are taking points as well. Do you think City are in a bit of danger? Because with the injuries they have, and they're still picking up points, but the performances, just like the weekend against Southampton, where they only barely beaten 1-0, are they in trouble this season?
I don't think at all they're in trouble. Like you said there, there's only 13 first team players. There's only 11 allowed on the pitch, like, at one time. Do you know what I mean? So that's it. It's fair enough for City to go, and even if you drop down into the reserves or their youth clubs and all that kind of crap, they have strong players still. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no reason why Pep can't pull out a masterclass genius like he usually does, tactician that he is, that he can to absolutely pull it out of the bag. And the players that he still has, yeah, he's down to the likes of Rodri in that, but the players that he still has, they're still strong players. And like I said, with Pep being Pep, he'll pull it out of the bag. I don't see City being in any trouble. Like, the way I see it is, injuries are a part of the game, right? You have to predict injuries. Now, I know it's kind of impossible to predict injuries, but you have to foresee some injuries. You're going to get so many injuries down the line. Like, there's no way a team can go a whole season without having any injuries. So you have to adjust, prepare, overcome. Do you know what I mean? Adaptability is a key part in any Premier League manager's arsenal, and Pep is well known to be able to handle these things. So I can't see City being in any trouble. Yeah, they mightn't get the same points, or they mightn't get the same amount of goals they got last year. They mightn't be winning 5-0 at every match. Might be scraping wins here, 1-0 here, 2-0 here. Do you know what I mean? It's going to happen, like. So I can't see City at all being in any trouble.
Do you agree, Aston, or do you look at, like, I know Evan's saying they're picking up results and Pep Guardiola is a good manager, but you look at their performance against Southampton, you look at some of their recent performances, and then losing last night in the Carabao Cup. Are they in a good position, or do you think this is probably the most vulnerable they've been in a while?
I think with Rodri out, they might be vulnerable, but I feel like we have the same conversation every season that, they've not started the season well, is this the same Man City as last season? But it seemed to hit January, and every time it just click every single time. I think when De Bruyne is back, when they get a few of them players back again, come January, February time when they need to start winning, who can back against Pep Guardiola and Man City's team keep winning and winning and winning when they need to? I wouldn't anyway, personally.
Yeah, I know. Like, look, it's we have this conversation most years about them. I get what both of you are saying in terms of like, you know what, like they click kind of after Christmas. It's kind of similar to what United used to do with Fergie. They used to always kind of click Christmas time, then obviously go on a run in the new year, and maybe that's what City have done the last what they've done kind of the last couple of years. But I'm just hoping, because I'd like to see an open title race this season, because I know United aren't involved in it. We're going to be involved in the mid-table Europa Conference League race this year. That's going to be good crack. But I'd like to see a couple of teams fight for the title. Like, I'd like to see Arsenal, Villa, City, even Chelsea to even challenge up there. I think the luxury Chelsea have, right, in this. I know Sean's probably going to downplay it in a minute and say Chelsea aren't in it, right? But I want to throw kind of a spanner in the works with this. Chelsea can technically only play one game a week because they have, like, and this is not me slagging Chelsea, this is me bigging up Chelsea here. Look at the size of their squad, right? And you look at the size of the other squads, and you look at the fact that all them other teams are going to be playing in Europe each week. So are Chelsea. But Chelsea are able to make 11 changes every single week in that Europa Conference League, and they're keeping their first team fit. I would not write that Chelsea off at the moment, considering what Enzo Maresca is doing and the difference in the turnaround he's made in that team, since last season. So I wouldn't be counting Chelsea out yet either. In terms of being one of them teams, when you look at squad depth compared to the other teams in that top five.
No, I think Chelsea were definitely top four anyway. Definitely top four. So we are. I think Keane's got mute, is he?
Yeah, I think in terms of player quality.
Sean's on mute as well.
Sean back?
Sure if Keane's on mute.
You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Go on, Sean, continue. No, we lost Sean.
Am I back?
He's back.
Yeah, you are.
I can hear you.
I can hear him. Can you hear him, lads?
He's gone again.
Yeah.
Keane, let me just pick up on their City for you. With City, and here's the thing that people forget: there'll be a 6-point swing either way. I.e., City drop 6 points, they're not catching it back up. This is the problem with the league right now. You look at where we are; we're in 14th place, right? I haven't seen the league. What are we, 4 or 5 points off top 4? That's all we are.
6. Is that 6 or 7? I think.
Well, that's all it is.
7.
So it's effectively 2 wins and a draw off top 4. But we've got to play those teams again. Villa's critical period in the season won't be playing Manchester United or Chelsea or whatever. It'll be playing City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. That'll be Villa's problem. If they can overcome that, then Villa will have the potential to finish top 4, maybe even top 3. Everybody outside of where Chelsea are, because Chelsea are just a little bit too inconsistent in a minute for me. I'm not saying they're a bad side. I just think they're just a little bit too inconsistent. And for us, it's difficult to say where we're going to end up because, if you look at where we've been to where we were last night, which, by the way, was an absolute fucking disgrace by our players. And I fucking mean that, an absolute disgrace by our players. And we do bring this so-called Messiah in. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, as Evan said, with Chelsea, that we can't leapfrog Chelsea, Tottenham, or whoever. It's that tight if you look at where the league is and who's got to play who yet. So I think it'll be an interesting league right from start to finish. I do think Arsenal will get over the line. I take what Julio says. Odegaard's a massive loss, absolutely, and Rodgers is a huge loss for City and De Bruyne and so forth. But I actually think you'll see what Pep's metal is. We've never really seen Pep and his metal because he's always had why am I calling him Pep? Guardiola and his metal, because we've always had one or two players missing, not a raft of players missing that he's got. So I'll be interested to see whether this so-called Messiah is as good as what everybody thinks. So I think actually this year you're going to see the closest title race, and it won't just be between two teams. I think there's going to be 4 or 5 in there. I think Chelsea got a chance, Evan, if you can be more consistent, if you can get the likes of Mudryk playing, if you get, I know you're a big Sancho fan, but if you can get his finger out of his arse and get him playing properly to some
He doesn't
kind
get
of
the
level.
credit he deserves. I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, look, I was on record, and Keane knows this. I was on record before we signed him, and I said, no, just steer clear of him. It's not what we needed. I'm not saying I was right or wrong. It's just a finger in the air.
Well, I will back you on that, because I said it when he was rumoured and he was going to United the first time.
Yeah.
I said he'll flop. I said it straight away.
Yeah, it wasn't us. It wasn't right for us. And, you know, I got accused of not knowing enough all about football and German football in particular. But, you know, it is what it is. You can take all that criticism. But you've got other players there. I mean, you've got the golden ticket, actually. And people talk about singular players. And I don't agree with singular players, by the way, you know, railroading themselves into a title push, etc. It's a team game. But you've got the golden ticket in Cole Palmer at the moment. I mean, he really is a step above anything that Chelsea have seen. I think it's probably Zola. I will go back that far.
You're a lunatic. You're a lunatic.
No, I think in terms of his impact of what Chelsea can.
No,
do.
Stop, Stu. Stop.
Honestly.
Stop.
Honestly.
You're hold on. This is Eden Hazard is in the same talk now since you went.
I was going to say you're a Belgian. There's a missing Belgian in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I'm not arguing against that. I just think actually Zola had more of a. And when you've got to look at the time period Zola was playing, look at the period, look at the players that were playing around Zola. Hazard was in a different. And I get your point about Hazard, by the way. But he's in a different kind of category of player. He was playing alongside Drogba, you know, that type of thing. I think was Drogba there or was it Costa? No, not Costa. Yeah, but by the way, you're talking a different profile of team. I get your point. I've got no issue with it. But I think like for like, when you look at the type of player that Palmer is, I think he's more Zola-esque rather than Hazard. I'm obviously bitter about Hazard because the fucker chose you, Chelsea over United. So I'm obviously bitter about that. And so I should be. But I take your point. I just think it was a different era, to be brutally honest. That's all I'll say. But my point being, and what I was getting around to was saying that you've got this player at the moment that no other team has got. And you've got this real spark from a 21-year-old kid who knows what he's doing and how to impact games. We don't have that at Manchester United. Villa don't necessarily have it. Liverpool, I don't think, have it. They've got an all-round better unit, I think, Liverpool. You could argue Haaland with City. And Odegaard would have been the player possibly for Arsenal. So I think at this point in time, if you can keep him fit and you can get good players around him, yeah, I think you got a chance. But I'm not discounting Hazard. For me, growing up in a different era to you, I felt Zola and Cole Palmer have got more similarities.
I'll tell you one thing about Cole Palmer right now, though. I don't give a fuck what anyone says to me. I think he's the best player in the world right now. You look at current form over a 12-month period.
Yes, Cole Palmer, yeah, he is, yeah.
I think he is. But then right now, he's the best player in the world right now.
Yeah.
If you look at it, like if you're talking, let's say calendar year, 12 months, and I think you look at his impact for Chelsea in the last year, even last year when they finished, sixth or seventh in the league last year, and like he was playing unreal, and then he got the help to get him to a cup final last year, and then he was good for limited minutes he had for England in the Euros, only for Spain being really good in that final in that second half. Cole Palmer, Joe could have won the Euros as well, and we could have been talking about.
Here's a question for you, Evan. Where do you think you'd be this season without Palmer? Just out of interest.
That's a tough one.
And do you think
you have to take into consideration, right? Winning goals, like say if it was a 1-1 match, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Palmer scored.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's hard to tell a point. I reckon without Palmer, 10th.
So we had a similar thing with Eric Cantona. See, Palmer's one of the what I call a one attempt, one goal finisher. So if he gets in, he's pretty much guaranteed to put it away, and that's what you need. That's the difference in football. We had it with Cantona, if you remember, back in the 90s. We would go away to, say, Newcastle and beat them 1-0. We'd have one chance. Schmeichel would keep us in the game. He really would. And we'd have one chance and he puts it away. I think Palmer does that for you. It's quite interesting, isn't it, how one player can really ignite a team. And we don't have that right now at Old Trafford. Manchester United just don't have that one player that can take the game by the scruff of the neck and really make that change.
Pretty dismal. We'll talk about that match in a couple of minutes. We'll get both sides, and we also will get a neutral point of view as well. But I think we're all agreed anyway. This title race this year is probably going to be quite close, and I do think from United fans' point of view, who doesn't have any skin in the game, once Man City or Liverpool don't win it this year, I'm just happy. Once one of them two bastards don't win it, I'll even suffer through a summer having to listen to Evan of Chelsea winning it and Jadon Sancho being a Premier League winner.
Your football, though,
if Jadon Sancho wins the Premier League, I will never leave anyone.
If Jadon Sancho wins I'm going into hiding.
Hey, if Jadon Sancho wins a Premier League title, like the block button is very easily anyway. So, like,
I'd love it if he puts a Man United top on when he lifts it. Fuck me, that'd be great.
Oh God,
there's more chance.
Sorry, I was going to say what I do agree with Stu. Sorry, is just like in terms of Chelsea, we're on about the depth and everything. Like I think in terms of player quality, I think we're as good as the majority of the teams. Maybe City are kind of clear on that, but the thing I think that doesn't put us in a title race. It's just we have a young side, like Stu said, it could be inconsistent throughout the year. I think so. That's the only thing. But I'm kind of hoping top four this year, and then more of a push towards those three teams then next season.
Yeah, look, I think it's not out of the realms of possibility because if I just look at them, like if I look at Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, they're all, like results permitting, they all have decent draws in the Champions League later on in the season, and their squad size compared to Chelsea's, I just wouldn't write them off considering like Chelsea can throw their second team out in the Conference League probably until the semi-finals. Do you know what I mean? Realistically, they could. Like, and that's not me even capping here. I think they genuinely put their second team out in that Conference League, looking at teams like fucking Shamrock Rovers are a win away from qualifying for the knockout rounds. Do you know what I mean? Look, I love Shamrock Rovers. I love Irish football. Like, but do you know what I mean? Like, they're a win away from qualifying for the knockout rounds. So
here's another question, then, Keane, and it's to the Chelsea boys. What do you make of your keeper? Do you think you got a strong enough keeper to take you a little bit further, to elevate you to that next level as well?
No, I think he's probably the difference between us being fourth and us pushing Arsenal, Liverpool, and City. I think he's the biggest difference. Yeah. I think the other area is like I think we just need a keeper, maybe another centre half to play beside Caldwell. But Fofana is I think he's solid enough. It's just the keeper. He's the biggest difference. Easily, he's poor. I think it's the most embarrassing thing about since the new ownership came in, I think we've bought 6 keepers and we haven't had a good one yet. Like Petrovic has been decent, but
I was just about to say that. I even last year I backed Petrovic. I preferred Petrovic over Sanchez 100,000,000%. But I was called crazy for it. But I think Petrovic brilliant keeper.
Yeah, I think
because Villa obviously got Martinez. I mean, you know. That goes a long way, doesn't it? A good stopper, goes a hell of a long, way to. I mean, back in the day with Schmeichel, for us, it was guaranteed 12 points. Guaranteed 12 points off him. Probably even Van der Sar as well, guaranteed 12 points. De Gea in his early days, once he got himself together, it was guaranteed.
Yeah, like 4 years through then, it was minus 12 points then in his last 4 years.
Yeah, that's true. But it was like Quartar for you at times in Czech. Czech was a good 12 points a season for you, wasn't he, at times?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just wondering whether that will hinder you guys as well as Palmer's doing for you.
Definitely will. Look, I can't stand the keeper. In fairness, he's been up and down the season, so I think 75% of the time he's actually surprised me. If you look at the statistics of it in the league, just keepers and stuff, he's actually doing a lot better than he is, I think, than he should be. But he's one of these keepers where like he could have 85 minutes in the game and he could be playing out of his skin. and save everything and be brilliant with the ball at his feet, and then he'll just pass the ball to like a striker or something and cost you the game. So yeah.
I think we've got somebody like that, haven't we, Keane?
Hey, do what? I'm not going to take anyone on as slander because he's actually been unreal this season.
No, he's been better, but our play. Jesus, won't.
Yeah.
In fairness, he was rock bottom last year, so like it's only a
And he wasn't rock bottom, and I'll debunk that as well because he wasn't rock bottom last year. Because without him, we would have been bottom half as well. So I'm going to debunk that as well straight away. Like if you're going to come with these statements, Evan, present evidence. It was fucking hell. Like he wasn't that bad. Yes, he had a bad couple of games in the Champions League last year, but domestically he was actually a lot better than he was in Europe.
Anyway, I want Chelsea to bring Torre-Andre Flo back.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Chelsea to bring back Carlo Cudicini or something next week or something in goal.
God.
Cudicini.
With about the goalkeeper, Sean said they're buying. They might bring back Cudicini next week.
I'd bring Kevin
he was
back.
decent in the early 2000s. He was decent in the early 2000s before they bought Czech. But
see, our dilemma now is we bought a young keeper who looks like, obviously it's hard to say, he looks absolutely brilliant, but he's going to take a few years to come through. So like the keepers we have now are not good enough. So like, what do you do? Do you buy an older keeper now or what and wait for him to come through? He's from the same academy as Courtois came. Took him from the same club, and now he's playing senior with them since he's 16. Mike Pender's his name, but like it's the dilemma we have now. It's probably going to happen to us a lot because we buy a lot of young players where you're waiting for them to come through, and like, what do you have in between? That's the big problem.
Oh, there you go.
That's why you need to sit in them situations, Sean. That's where you need like the Silvas in the dressing room. Do you know what I mean? To help, help instill the culture in them younger players. Like, I know United had it for years, Liverpool had it for years, where they're bringing through the younger players, and they'd have like Liverpool would have a Gerrard and latterly Jamie Carragher, people like that to help bring these players through. United would have Keane, Robson, Scholes, all these lads to help bring players through. I think we look at Chelsea right now. I think that's one thing they're probably lacking right now is that kind of one or two heads in the dressing room probably to help get some of these young players through maybe a bad patch, or maybe wring their neck in when they're doing something. Like I think that's probably what
got Jadon Sancho to do that, kid. Oh no, he wouldn't do it, would he? He'd be the one out partying. Oh, you got your big man Mudryk as well. Now he's a strange enigma, isn't he? Old Mudryk.
I love him. Like off the field, I just think he's like when we had Werner. Like Werner wasn't a great footballer, but he's just the character off the field. I think he's funny. I kind of have a soft spot for Mudryk, obviously, because like he hasn't lived up to the price tag yet, but I just think he gets a lot of stick online. He's kind of one of those players that I'd like to see him turn it around and do well.
Yep.
And him and Anthony in the same team would be the biggest social media meme of all time. Get them two on either wing.
Same as Jackson and Hoyland. Like the two of them last season was getting the piss ripped out of them every week. And look, Jackson has been very good this year. He's turned around. I rate Hoyland. I know he has his ups and downs at United so far, but I think he will come good. And it's like Mudryk. He's one of those players when he does, it'll be good to see, I think.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
Jackson is good, and Mudryk will definitely. I think thing about Mudryk is he played against a high line, he'd be very good, but against a low block, I think that's where he probably comes a bit unstuck.
But I think he's the most obvious case ever of he won't kick a ball for us, and in 2 years' time we'll sell him to someone, maybe a foreign, whatever, and he's just going to explode. I have that feeling, like Salah when we sold him the time, he was the exact same. He had like all the speed. In the world, he was strong, but his football brain was poor at the time. He basically didn't know what to do, went to make his runs, and then we sold him. He just like all of a sudden just exploded. I can see the same happen.
I suppose you can afford, because you don't pay him a lot, do you? You give him 7-year contracts, 8-year contracts, but don't you pay like 70 grand tops or something?
Yeah. So it's like Mudryk was on 70 when he came in, so it's just like performance based. Like I think United are looking at doing the same. Well, they've started doing the same with the new owners. So if we get Champions League football this year, like obviously his base wage will go up then. But I think it's at 70 at the moment.
And Sean, you've segued me into the next part of the show, which is I know Evan's probably raring, chomping at the bit, because in his time in the channel, you've never had a United Chelsea game at Old Trafford where probably the three United fans probably don't feel confident going into the game compared to other times. So Evan is chomping at the bit. I can feel the I can feel the
Buzzing for it.
smugness coming through my screen right now. But I'm going to come to Julio first because that young fella hasn't talked in ages. So I'm going to have to come to Julio first on this. Obviously, your favorite man in the whole world, Julio, Erik ten Hag, got sacked last weekend, which means now club legend, new manager bounce, Ruud Van Nistelrooy, is coming in taking charge this weekend. Obviously, we had I suppose a weird 5-2 win in the Carabao Cup against so obviously a largely changed Leicester side last night. Looking at the way we played last night and looking at Chelsea on Sunday, how are you feeling coming into the game, Joe? I suppose with Erik ten Hag on.
I don't know what to expect. I really don't know. Look, a manager's lost his job, obviously, and then the club legend steps in, and Keane is bringing all the Ollie nostalgia about how it's like then, and I'm not all for it. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to get invested in a club legend interim period. I just want him to come in, do his 4 games, and I look forward to the new manager coming in and doing his bit now, as opposed to waiting for another 6 months until the summer. We were very transitional last night or the night before, whenever it was. I wasn't, I'm not expecting Van Nistelrooy to come in and turn into prime Mourinho with 4 or 5 tactically, but
they're brilliant curtains. What are you on about?
For a lot of chances, it was quite concerning.
This is a podcast about ball. Like, why are we talking about curtains here?
Yeah, Trevor asks like the worst questions ever. He asked him why in Mountjoy prison as well. He keeps doing this the last 3 years. If I was in Mountjoy now, I wouldn't be sitting on YouTube now, would I?
He rinses me, Evan. He rinses me whatever channel I'm on. He's always on rinsing me.
I'm in Dublin, by the way. They're not fireworks; it's gunshots. In case anyone's wondering.
You live in the country like I do. You can't hear him.
Mother of God.
But go on, Julio. Continue.
Yeah, sorry, Julio.
Yeah, do you know what? I really hope we win at the weekend. I know that's weird because I'm a United fan. Do you know what I mean? It's literally my team playing, but I can't wait to message Evan after the game and give him all sorts if we win.
You're going to be in a shell, so yeah, because Chelsea are going to win 2-1, so they are.
I don't. This is the problem. I can't give you a prediction. I don't know what to expect. I think the players will turn up, but a second string Leicester side, and we had a pretty strong side last night. And the fact that we gave away as many shots as I think it was like 11 or 12 shots we gave away.
I put it this way: it's going to be the most exciting game, I'd say, out of all this side of Christmas.
Do you know, it could be one of those games where everyone misses absolute sitters, and it's still a goal fest.
It's either going to be either one or the other because, like we said, the inconsistency of Chelsea so far this season, and then you also have the uproar of United having an interim manager. It's such short notice with the game coming up this weekend. It's going to be an absolute entertainment.
It could be a basket case of a game. I honestly, like Sean does really well with his bets. I bet he can't wait for the accumulator this weekend, to be honest, because he's just going to be betting on all sorts. Just anything can happen in this
yellow
game.
Cards all over the place.
Yeah, there will be cards.
Yellow cards all over the place.
Diogo Dalot to get booked anyway, definitely. Him being a big passion merchant trying to flatten Cole Palmer. That's what happened there.
Could be.
Casemiro with 3 slide tackles. I will be there no matter what.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes booked for descent. I'm telling you, there'll be some there'll be some load of shit happening this weekend. But I suppose I'm going to come to you, Stu, and then I'll bring in Chelsea lads into this as well. Obviously, Casemiro had a great game last night, and he seems to be having a bit of a resurgence in the last couple of weeks. Do you think when you look at the way Chelsea's midfield have been really progressive, and the likes of Moses Caicedo, who has been, I suppose, flying under the radar in terms of how well he's actually been playing, and obviously with the likes of Palmer and stuff like that in there, do you think it's important for Ruud Van Nistelrooy to have us set up in a compact way where, so previously Ten Hag would have set us up with like Eriksen and Casemiro, or Eriksen and Mainu, or Eriksen Ugarte? Do you think it's very important with the way Chelsea kind of have good ball recession, recession, that we I suppose play a more pragmatic midfield on Sunday to combat Chelsea's, I suppose, one, very good ball work, and two, their athleticism?
Yeah, Ruud will have a bit of an issue really, because first and foremost, I'm fuming with the players anyway, and this is, this has been going on in football for years. Players don't like a particular manager, so they just fucking down tools. As soon as he's gone out the door, they decide they want to play football. And
do you think, Steele, can I stop you there actually? Do you think this, you mentioned the players down tools, do you think this group has done that?
You are, sorry?
Do you think this Man United, like this current squad, has down tools?
Yeah, well, because they're weak. The problem with Chelsea is they're inconsistent. The problem with us is we're mentally weak, and that's our biggest problem. You look throughout our squad, and people will say, "Well, De Ligt isn't mentally weak." He is, because he's not imposed himself enough on the squad. Bruno, petulant. Julio will tell you that. Whether we like him as a player or not, he's petulant. You've got to look at players' characters, and this is the biggest issue that Chelsea have: is characters. But we've got a bigger problem with our character. And you don't all of a sudden, by the way, you don't all of a sudden not find the net 3-4 weeks on a bounce and then all of a sudden find the net. Forget the Casemiro opening goal. That could happen in any game. But the other finishes, the Garnacho finish, the Casemiro tap, right place, right time. You don't just suddenly find your goal scoring form. It's bollocks whether Leicester were playing their second string or not. You've got to be in that position to get the chances. You've got to be able to progress the ball, which we did. Julio is right, by the way. We conceded a stupid amount of shots and we conceded 2 stupid goals. Let's be clear about that. Although I must admit, I thought the strike for their first goal was absolutely superb finish. I mean, it really was. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that for a long, long time. It was a wonderful technique, wonderful strike. But you're in a situation where if I was Van Nistelrooy last night, I'd have done 2 things, actually. Tuesday morning, I would have gone into our dressing room, got all the players in, sarcastically clapped them in, and then sarcastically shook everyone's hand, and then gone into an absolute fucking tirade about how they've let everybody down, the club themselves, the families, etc. And then I would have smashed the shit out of every single one of them last night, because you don't go from playing the way that we've been playing 3-4 games previous to the way that we played last night. You can't allow that as a club. And as a professional footballer, you should be absolutely embarrassed. You should fucking, quit, really. It's just abysmal. But it's happened in football, Keane, for years, mate. I'm not just talking today. It's not just modern day football. It's happened for years. Players get away with it and there's no consequences. And that's the biggest problem for me. Chelsea have had it as well themselves. I mean, Nevin knows and Sean knows. Players don't want to play for a manager. All of a sudden, wow, they're back to world beaters. It fucking winds me up.
I'll be honest, I'd slightly disagree with some of that, because if I look at Erik Ten Hag's squad, right, because I think there's a lot of rhetoric at the minute that this squad's down in tools, same way that down tools under Ollie and same way that down tools under Mourinho. But if you actually look at the personnel that's in the squad, it's a lot it's mostly his players, number one. I'd say number 2 on the finishing. There's games where we've scored quite a few goals this season, but there's other games we've been inconsistent with the finishing. And if you look at the running stats and ground covered, players are tracking back. I think there was a lot of tactical stuff in terms of the way he had the midfield set up, where the reason why we're conceding chances. Ruud set the midfield up the same way that Ten Hag would have set it up, and that's why we conceded there was so many chances. I think if you look at the goal scoring, we scored, was it 2 against Brentford? We scored 3. We scored 2 against Brentford. We scored 7 against Barnsley. We scored 3 against Southampton. 3 against Porto. So there's goals have been there, albeit inconsistent. Now last week against West Ham, we should have been 5-0 up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've played in teams where it takes 2 or 3 players to get pissed off with the gaffer or get pissed off with certain things, and they start dicking around during matches. Don't do what normally they would do in a normal game scenario. We've had that, and to be honest with you, Keane, it doesn't matter whether it's his players or not. Players are the same. They're all the fucking same. If they don't like it, they chuck the toys out the pram. It's just happened for years, pal. It really has.
See, I would agree, only for the fact that the fact that we've been creating chances, plenty of chances during games. We just haven't been putting them away. And in the other games we scored 3. We scored 3 in a couple of occasions.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I'm on that. But I don't think we'd have had that performance if Ten Hag had been in the dugout, and that's what annoys me more than anything.
Potentially, but you have to look at the quality of that Leicester team that was put out last night in comparison. If you look at the quality of that Leicester team, they made 9 changes last night, and a lot, to name a couple of their players, Connor Cody's barely played because he's only been back from injury.
The legend, Connor Cody, you mean?
Yeah,
the legend.
Casey McAteer, who started for them last night, only played a couple of minutes for Ireland in the international break because he's been out with loads of injuries as well. So
I think for them though, pal, it was a competition they don't need to be in.
Yeah. So do you know what I mean? I think if you look at that, he scored plenty of goals. But I think if you look at the whole wider scale of the fact that we haven't been taking our chances in some games, but also if you're talking about work rate, Kobbie Mainoo ran himself into the ground because he was trying for the manager. Garnacho is running himself into the ground. Rashford's running stats are double from what they were last year. Do you know,
not really difficult.
Do you know, when you look at the way that we've dropped points this year, I say work rate and commitment actually hasn't been an issue. I think decision making in terms of playing out from the back has been an issue. The midfield has been an issue. But what I would say is the commitment from the players. I'm usually, and the two, Sean, Nevin, and Julio will back me on this. I'm usually not someone to say stand up for players, but I think where some of them might have been culpable of not taking their chances, but I think work rate and commitment hasn't been an issue this year. Compared to, let's say, under Ollie and Rangnick towards the end of their time, work rate and commitment were definitely an issue.
Yeah, I just think, I just think, and I always judge it on this. I mean, I played the game a long, long time. What am I now? 50 years I've been playing the game. And I know what it's like. I know what players think and how they feel. I just can, for me, last night was great because we won, but borderline unacceptable at the same time. And what we're going to see Sunday, it is Sunday, isn't it, guys? Is it 4:30 Sunday?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I think, I take Evan's point. I think we're going to win, though. This is the problem. This is what grates me. I actually think we're going to beat you 2-0. And it does grate me. And look, King's right about the way that you play midfield, the way that you're aggressive. Cole Palmer's going to be dangerous. We all know this. I just think that if we start to play with a tiny bit of composure, a tiny bit of flair, and a little bit more aggression ourselves, because we're not an aggressive outfit, then we might just be able to get on top of you. But, and I will say this, but it does depend what type of Chelsea is going to turn up, and nobody knows. I don't think any Chelsea know. I think when they get off the coach to the ground and they get in the change room, I don't think Chelsea know what type of team is going to, not what he's going to put out, but what type of team they're going to play. So there's just something. I get the feeling we're just going to win 2-0. I can't explain it, but I'd like to see us match them up. But I wouldn't be surprised though, Keane, Julio, if Ruud doesn't play some kind of Amorim system. Although I did say at the beginning of the season, I don't know if it was on with you, Keane, I might not have been, but I did say at the beginning of the season, I think Ten Hag was looking to play a 3-5-2 this year by the profile of player he was buying. So I think it'd be interesting to see what happens from Sunday onwards until the arrival of Amorim, because we would have been looking at Chelsea 2 weeks ago. There would have been a meeting about Chelsea 2 weeks ago. There'd have been a lot of analysis done on Chelsea over the past month to 6 weeks, specifics. And I think Ruud's got a decision to make. Now, as of tomorrow night, Amorim effectively becomes the United coach, manager, although he's going to stay in Portugal. So what happens after that, I don't know. It'd be interesting, Keane, to see what he does Sunday.
Yeah, I think he'll stick with a back four. I think just looking at I think for continuity, and I think just looking at the opposition, I think it'd be a bit nuts to maybe go back three, considering the players we have available. I think if Euro and that were available, and we
Not
had
quite
this
ready yet, is he?
available,
He's not ready, is he, Euro?
No, he's not in back now till December. So
December. All right.
yeah, he's had a bit of a setback, so he's not back till December now. But if we had like Euro and Luke Shaw, I'd be like, yeah, we could probably set up with a back three and wing backs and try and negate Chelsea and try hitting on the break. But I think we'll go with the 4-2-3-1 on Sunday, just kind of for continuity's sake more than anything. But I want to bring Chelsea lads in. So look, I'm conscious we're kind of running over time, so I kind of want to get that Chelsea perspective in as well. Obviously, you've seen manager changes, I suppose, a couple of them now since Todd Bodie's come in, but looks like you've had a bit of stability under Enzo Maresca. And again, he's probably come in as a kind of a younger manager who was a bit unproven. Talk to us kind of about the form this season and kind of how you're feeling coming into Sunday.
Do you want to go first, Sean, or would I?
Do you want to go first, then?
Yeah. Look, as I said, both
we're both that excited to.
Fair enough, you're about 4 minutes behind me there, Sean. Look, as I said before in the group chat, bold managers are just not for everyone, and they're for Chelsea, so they are. Maresca just has that aura about him. The players are young, yes, I know that, but inconsistency. He hasn't enough time to actually proper settle in. At Chelsea, Maresca doesn't. But I feel like the players respect him. They want to play for him. They want to prove themselves. They want to show up and they want to do well, and make the club proud. And that's what any Chelsea fan wants to see. As for the game coming up, like I said, I think it's 2-1 Chelsea. I think it's going to be a case of that bit of luck comes into it, that flair, that connection comes together. I know we're just have to come off a bad loss against Newcastle, right? It's the worst performance we're after given all year, in fairness. But I do have full faith in Maresca, and I do believe, even considering from last year, the way we've been playing, in comparison to this year, it's a million times better, and it's shown on the pitch, not just to Chelsea fans, but it's obviously shown to opposition fans then as well. Like I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's a completely different Chelsea team altogether. Do you know, we were doing so well so far, so I can't see why it can't continue on. I can't see why Maresca can't be backed fully and kept on, not by just fans, but at the club, directors, players, everyone, coaching staff, the whole lot. Me personally, he has my full support. I'm 100% behind him. And if we get rid of him off a fucking bad stint, if a bad stint is coming and Chelsea do start declining and they end up sacking, I'll lose the plot. I will lose the absolute plot. So I will. But look, it's all ahead of us this season. Do you know what I mean? And I do agree with what you were saying earlier. It's going to be an exciting year. This is going to be the most exciting season, I'd say, in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think definitely around the top. I think it's going to be close. I think with Chelsea, I think they have a good young squad, and I think again, I'll reiterate, I think the squad depth is there. And I think in games where teams sit back, you have different options. Like in games where it might be a bit more end to end, you have likes of Pedro Neto in there, who was a brilliant player. I wanted him at United before.
Oh no, yeah, great player.
Yeah. Joe, he's a very good player, very direct.
Sancho, isn't he? Much better than Sancho.
Yeah, he is better than Sancho. But we're not.
I don't know about that.
Sean, back me up here. Sean, back me up.
What he wanted
let's look at. We'll have to look at the stats. Them assists, them Sancho assists do come into play.
Fuck off, Evan.
Them Sancho assists come into play here.
What did Maresca say about him? For tactical reasons, we're leaving him out. It's not what he's done wrong or whatever. He was fucking knackered when he comes into trial. I heard he came in yawning.
That's all
Is
wrong
he
with
the,
Sancho.
hold on,
Black
here's a
Ops
stat
enough
for you.
this week.
Is he the second or third Chelsea's history to get 3 consecutive assists in his first 3 games?
Why did he drop now then?
Yeah, but Evan, sorry, Evan.
Look,
Those
I don't make
the
the rules.
first Evan.
I
The
just think of
first
them and apply them to everyone else.
first 2 assists were the
5-yard
equivalent
passes on the
of
halfway
layups
line.
for someone
now,
else
hold
to
on
do
now,
the
hold on
dirty
now.
work.
Are they assists?
Hey,
It's a
Evan,
simple
I'm actually
question.
going to use your case against you then,
They're
right?
assists.
I'm actually going to use your case
All hail
against you.
Lord Jadon Sancho.
No, Evan. Do you what? No, Evan. I actually appreciate your point here. I'm actually appreciate your point, but I'm going to twist your words right against you now here, right? If that's the case, Bruno Fernandes outscored Frank Lampard's record. Is he a better player?
No, you're talking about skill now.
No,
I'm just talking about assists
You're talking
alone.
about stats,
Assists.
Evan. Evan, you're
Assists.
talking about stats. Bruno Fernandes broke all of Frank Lampard's records for a single
I'm just
season.
talking about assists. Just them 3 assists. That's
No,
all
I'm
I'm
talking
going
about
off here.
assists in general.
Can I just say something, Evan? I'm sorry about that. I was going to show me age here, pal, but back in the day, and I'm talking back in the day, who the fuck gave a bollocks about assists? Nobody cared about assists. Nobody gave a fuck.
Not just for assists, only 3 assists.
In 3 years.
Pogba got like 5. Didn't Pogba get like 4 or 5 in the same game?
They are assists nonetheless. They will take them.
If you're going to use this assist argument, I'm going to use your argument against you here right now then, right?
That's great.
I'm just going to use your argument against you here. So them 3 assists, which are great, which is good. And I think, look, again, it helped Chelsea win crucial games against Bournemouth and that. Look, again, they were good moments, right? But if you're going to use stats as a thing here, Bruno had a singular season that broke all Lampard's records. Is he a better player? Obviously fucking not. Fucking not.
Lampard is GOAT.
Yeah, obviously. But like, do you know what I mean? If you're going to use this rhetoric, like, come on, get a fucking grip. Get a grip.
Assists, we'll take them.
Oh, don't worry.
Can I just go to the real elephant in the room? Because I find this one fascinating. So, Chelsea been in existence for how long?
1905.
2003.
Yeah, since 2003. 1905. And let me just reiterate what you said. Jadon Sancho has the 3rd highest assist level in 3 consecutive games.
No, he's the 3rd player.
Oh, the 3rd
player or 2nd player to have an assist in his first 3 matches
in the history of your club.
I think so. I'll have to double check that fact. I have it on the phone. I have a screenshot.
Wow. No, the stats in the Premier League. I think he was the first player in the Premier League in 3 consecutive games or something to get an assist.
I have this. I'll put it into the group chat. I have the screenshot on my phone. But it's a stat nonetheless.
It's a funny stat.
But anyway, as Evan was spreading propaganda, Sean popped out. He's after rejoining. But Sean, I want to kind of twist this on you, but not twist this for you in terms like you're talking about. We talked about new manager, and we talked about Enzo Maresca's impact on Chelsea. Obviously, Ruben Amorim, who's all but confirmed to be Man United manager until tomorrow, we will find out. Obviously, he was linked with Chelsea, Joe, beforehand. Do you think when you look at Man United's squad, do you think he's going to struggle when he comes in, considering it's going to be a whole new system, a whole new, I suppose, ideology that these players that kind of have to, I suppose, work towards?
You see, the thing is, I think the football he plays is what I seen United do years ago when United were good. It's really direct football and that. And I think it actually suits your squad better. There's less of a transition to him than it would be to, say, if you got Maresca or De Zerbi, like a possession-based manager. I think Maresca would have struggled with United. I don't think the players are there right now for a possession-based football, and I think the direct football suits you better. Like you seen last night, I didn't actually see the game, but I've seen a few United fans on the timeline that afterwards to speak about how he played like very direct last night again to suit the players straight away. But I think Amorim's football will suit that. The only thing, like I've been saying in the group chat, obviously he's been linked with, well, not linked, he's been on Chelsea's lists in the last 2 managerial merry-go-rounds that they had. So when they hired Pochettino and then in the summer before Maresca as well. So I've just been kind of like a year or two of kind of keeping tabs on him and just like he's the football that he's Lisbon side play. I just think you're gonna have the same struggle in midfield that a lot of you have not been happy with under Ten Hag. Fields under Ten Hag for the last while that like now Maino has been fantastic under it still. Like I think he'll play well under any manager and any system, but it's just the amount of ground that he's had to cover, and then Casemiro as well, who actually I believe looked very good last night. And besides the Liverpool game this year, any game I've watched, he's been good. But like over the past year, when people were saying he was finished and that, I think a lot of that was down to the space and the distance he had to cover. Amarim's midfielders are the same. He plays a lot through the wings, which United are strong on the wings, I think. But he ignores the centre a lot, and I think Ugarte is going to obviously fit. He's had him before. He done really well under him, so it's that type of midfielder that he likes. So Ugarte and that guy that they have there at the moment, that Hoyland or whatever his name is, he's the same. And Morita, he dislikes those midfielders that can cover a lot of ground, and he doesn't play a lot of football through them. So I think if that's something you're unhappy with under Ten Hag, it's something that could continue when Amarin comes in. But I think he suits a lot of the United players. Like the direct football, and that'll be good for them. The likes of Rashford and Garnacho and that, like you know what Garnacho, like I think he called it goldfish memory, where if he takes on a player and he doesn't beat them, the next ball he gets, he's going to do it again. And again, I love those kind of players. We have that in Neto now. I think he's similar enough to what Garnacho does, but yeah, I think for most of your players it's going to suit. The only issue I think then as well on top of the midfield is just basically, obviously he plays with the 2 10s in behind the striker and then 2 wing backs. I think maybe Garnacho might suit that wing back role, but if you're going to play the 2 10s, it's no longer going to be kind of like Bruno as a 10 and Rashford as a wing option. I think they're going to be kind of competing for that spot now more often than not. So there's going to be a lot of games where, well, I think Bruno's probably going to start every week. I think he's one of our better players, but like it's going to be a matter of one or the other a lot of the time now under Amarin with the new system, I think. And like I think the two of them are great players, so it's not always a bad thing. I suppose I probably brag most weeks about Chelsea having depth and bringing players off the bench like Neto and that when he's not starting, so it can be a good thing that way if Rashford's not starting and he's coming off the bench to do damage to teams. But that's just another thing that I was thinking of when I was looking at your squad kind of lining up to how Amarin sets up. But yeah, just in general, like I said, I think a lot of your players like direct football, and his football is very direct. It's really direct. It can be open at times, but I think you're going to get a lot of goals on there. You're going to get exciting football, and it's what United fans loved over the years, I think.
Yeah, I think like look, it'll take some time to adapt. Like I think the fact that he plays like a 3-4-2-1 and a 3-4-3, so it's 2 different variations that he can do. Or maybe if it's a case where 1 week against a low block, he might go with the 2 10s to try unlock teams. Then maybe against a higher line, then he goes with, let's say, Garnacho and Rashford as the 2 wingers, and then maybe he drop Bruno into a number 8 role, 1 week, or I think there's different ways he can set that up. But it remains to be seen kind of how he does. But before we get kind of score predictions for Sunday for the game, I'm going to come to Aston. I'm conscious he hasn't talked in a while, but it'd be good to get, I suppose, an outsider's point of view on Sunday's game, and I suppose also on Erik ten Hag sacking.
Well, Sunday, I think there'll be goals, because one thing United, even in the Ten Hag, like when you talk about downing tools, I don't think they're down tools like they did under Solskjaer and maybe Jose. Like they created chances. I watched the West Ham game, and another day that could have been 3-4-0 in the first half. I don't think they'd. So one thing United do is create chances, and one thing they also do is concede chances. And I think that's where players like Palmer will exploit that and could actually cause United big problems. So I think. Do you want my score prediction now? Or,
yeah, go fire away. We'll let you go first before
I say
over here.
3-2 Chelsea. I think there'll be goals, and there'll definitely be a lot of chances. But I think Chelsea might nick it. Yeah, 3-2.
3-2. Oh, fuck. On that note, I would go to you, Julio, next. Give me your score prediction for Sunday.
I was also going to go with 3-2, but on United's end, I just think that United might have that bit of home luck or something that will just see them through and get the win. So yeah, I'm going to go with 3-2.
Stu?
We win 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah, we won't concede.
Yeah. I love the confidence.
Yeah, we won't concede. I actually, to be fair, if Ten Hag was, I think we'd have beaten Chelsea anyway. So I think we'll win. Yeah, I think we'll win 2-0.
Aidan in the comments says 2-2. He thinks it'll be 2-2.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Sean, Evan gave 2-1. Are you similarly confident to Evan?
Yeah, it's the first time in a couple of years I'm confident at Old Trafford. I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea. Just this year, away forms were way better away from home. I think because we made 11 changes and didn't show up against Newcastle, well, we could have scored 3 or 4, but we got bet 2-0. I think there's a lot of pressure. They have to do the business at a weekend after that happened. And the other thing then, I think he's going to see through that Enzo Fernandez. I don't think he's going to start. We'll have Lavia and Casido back. We have a full squad for the first time in years, the last 2 games. So I think we'll be solid enough. So yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea.
So we've had a mix. So we've had obviously 3-2 Chelsea, we've 3-1 Chelsea, 2-1 Chelsea, to Julio going 2-2.
3-2 we went.
3-2, did he? Sorry, you went 3-2. Yes,
yeah.
My brain scrambled here. Fucking hell. Trevor's gone 3-1 as well. And Tipton Town to lose 6-0 with Stu scoring 4-1.
We're back in action this weekend, actually.
Yeah, there's Trevor score 2 score predictions. So if you want to do a double down Paddy Power, lads, there's
scoring 4 own goals.
I've been thinking 1-1 all week, but the closer it's getting to the game, I'm feeling interim manager, Old Trafford, proper match going fans there on Sunday. You know, at the TRA will be bouncing for Ruud. It'll be kind of Ollie 2.0.
Are you in the TRA, are you, Sunday?
No, what? Funny story. I was kind of boycotting the last kind of couple of weeks because I was waiting until Ten Hag got the sack because I've been spending some money going over and back to games. And I said, I'm not going over watching this shit until he gets sacked. Lo and behold, like literally a week and a half later, Ten Hag gets the sack. And I have all my tickets sold up until Christmas now.
Are you kidding? Have you sold them?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, my lad Jakey, he's transferred my seat, the bastard. So he goes in the TRA. He fucking loves it in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, just fucking bouncing Sunday anyway until we can see the goal.
It will be bouncing Sunday, yeah, definitely.
But on that, so just to reiterate, interim manager bounce, Ollie 2.0, TRA bouncing, you know, the feel good factor will be there. New manager will be announced. Chelsea will go 1-0 up. Crowell will drag us back in. We'll win 2-1. Now, usually at this point, I say a Bruno penalty or a Scott McTominay winner, but Scott McTominay unfortunately isn't with us. Rest in peace. So I'm going to go Marcus Rashford winner because I think it just.
I knew you were going to say.
I think it'd be just poetic justice. It was his birthday today, and all these Twitter fanatics. Saying Marcus Rashford sacked another manager, but he has the most goals and assists for every single manager post Sir Alex Ferguson, bar Louis van Gaal, because obviously he came in mid-season. So just to kind of shut down another rhetoric from the old reliable Twitter fans and Brent, D Cesar and Saeed and all them lads, just to shut down their theories.
Brent, ask Callum who Brent is.
Yeah, ask Callum who Brent de Cesar is. He'll give you a good description on Twitter. And for all his lovely fans who've kind of come into my mentions in the last day or so, you all want to get a grip, get a life, and sniff a bit of grass, lads, or sniff something else, whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat. But on that, I'll go 2-1. I'll stick to 2-1 United, and I'll go Rashford winner. But on that, I will wrap it up there for tonight because it's nearly 11 o'clock, and it's been a long stream, and it's good to be back actually. After a good while out, but thanks to Stu, Julio, Aston, and Sean and Evan for jumping on during their Halloween nights, and hopefully the fireworks don't keep any of you up tonight, because they've been going off here like mad in Ennis. So I hope it's not the same for everyone. Like the gunshots for Sean out in Dublin. Hopefully it's not the same for everyone else everywhere. But as always, guys in the comments, thanks very much for your comments as well. Do subscribe. We will be back tomorrow, where Callum Stone will have an old head from the podcast on tomorrow. Callum McFadden is making his return tomorrow, so do check that out tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as well. That promises to be a good one. But until then, guys, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you later.